Hello everyone, welcome to Wind Down Friday, and I am in Austin at NI Connect, and this is a Wind Down Friday in Austin, and I have the pleasure to interview today Haydn Nelson, Business Development Manager, Radar and RF Test at National Instruments, NI, now part of Emerson. Hi Haydn, how is it going?
It's going great. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me on Wind Down Friday. We were given wine for this very purpose.
Yeah, absolutely, and indeed, cheers.
Oh, cheers. Yeah.
So,
Happy Friday.
happy Friday. So, Hayden, before starting with my questions, so I prepared a couple of questions in this Wind Down Friday. Please share your career journey. Give us a little bit of your background information.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, I'm the business development manager for RF Test, but I've had a pretty long career. I've been in the aerospace and defense industry for over 20 years. I actually started was in the military. I served in the U.S. Navy as a electronics technician. I worked on F-18 in an F-18 squadron for kind of a research and test squadron. So that kind of got me into the test world early on, I suppose. And I got a bachelor's and a master's in electrical engineering from University of Texas here in Austin. So I have a large connection to this wonderful city. And in between those, I actually worked at MIT at Lincoln Laboratories doing a lot of RF signal processing, mainly around radar and EW type systems. And then I left, and after my graduate degree, I started pretty much at National Instruments about 13 years ago. Where I've worked across the product lines from our RF test products on the engineering side, where I develop a lot of the calibration algorithms. So I've been a very engineering centric focus throughout most of my career. A few years ago, I discovered I liked talking to people and meeting interesting people like yourself, and so I got more into kind of the marketing and business development side. So that's kind of what I've done throughout my career. But I've had the fortune to work on some really interesting technical challenges, both myself and through my NI's customers, and so that's the career.
Great, nice, very nice. So you are business development manager for radar, so aerospace and defense. Okay, so what are some of the most exciting developments or challenges that you have encountered during your career in aerospace and defense?
So what do you mean by that? Do you mean kind of personal exciting things or technological exciting things?
Both.
Both? Well, I mean, I as a person who personally, well, let me start with the technology. I've really been excited to watch the changes and developments in process. I have a master's in computer architecture, oddly, but applying that knowledge and understanding of processing technology and architectures over the past 15, 20 years, and seeing the evolution of that and what that's meant for software and now coming of AI and things like this. And so those things have been really exciting for me to have hopefully some influence on and be involved with the evolution of processing technology and what it's unlocked in the radar and signal processing space. And so personally though, the most exciting thing for me to work in aerospace and defense is the, as they say, the only constant in this industry is change. And so and it's kind of like having kids, that as soon as you understand how things are working, everything changes and you have to learn something new. So it's just this constant, I find it really exciting and sometimes frustrating that you have to relearn everything. New technology comes and it keeps you engaged. It's kind of a constant lifelong learning has been something that I personally enjoy as being a part of this space, as well as the mission and the impact on society and things of this nature.
Good. So throughout your career, I guess that there were interesting people, mentor that had a big impact on your professional but also life career. So how they influenced your approach to leadership?
Well, so there's two people that I can think of that one that had a real big impact on the way that I approach leadership. One, it just had a huge impact on my life, and it's, it sounds a little cliche, but it was my grandfather. I said I joined the military. I grew up in kind of a humble small family, not a lot of resources. I didn't go to college right out of high school, and I didn't kind of know what to do. My grandfather was a World War II vet, did 55 combat missions in the Pacific Campaign, and he was a big proponent of the U.S. Navy. He had a huge influence on me in terms of like taking up that challenge and going into the military, and that really led to me building very early an appreciation for our defense forces and learning a lot about discipline, and doing what's right now and deferring gratification. And so I think that has impacted the way that I approach the different aspects that I lead here at NI. And the other is I worked at a company called 4DSP, which was for a little while. Actually, I left this out of my career explanation. I left. I'm what's called a boomerang at NI. I left. We have a lot of people who will leave the company and then they'll realize how wonderful this company we work at is and they'll come back. I am one of those as a boomerang, and I went to this small company called 4DSP. But in that 2-year stint I worked there, I actually worked for a gentleman named Pierre Voulet, who was an excellent leader of this small company. We developed some great technology together, and he just really unlocked in me a lot of performance and leadership, and just seeing how you expect a lot from people and they will oftentimes measure up and then expect more. And so he's been a huge mentor for me to engage with the people that I work with here to like set high expectations for each other.
So among the tools and technology that you are working with, which are the most important or the most important to use or enjoyable to use? From your perspective, of course.
Well, being a business development manager, I still actually do some engineering work. As I know you may not believe that, but one of the things I actually enjoy as a person who's out enabling our customers and our sales force in these kind of radar applications is I actually will get into the labs with our apps engineers and work with radars. And so, I mean, the tools that I personally use in my space are not super advanced, but a lot of tools like MATLAB. I'll use MATLAB for simulating certain aspects so I can demonstrate capability on a radar system to my customers. I personally use Python a lot for doing financial analysis, and I also will work with our customers using Lab. Of course, I work at NI. We're all required to use LabVIEW, and it's a great tool. I use it. Even as a business development manager, I still use LabVIEW for helping do quick prototypes, and those things are one, very enjoyable to use because I tend to be very I guess kind of impatient, that I want to get things done quickly so we can innovate fast. And so some of these tools that are really easy to use and being able to pull in different capabilities, but mostly in the software space. And it's kind of one of these things that you use a saw for cutting wood and a hammer for hammering nails. It's like the right tool for the job, and these types of software tools are really fun to use. My boss wants me to write less code, but I personally enjoy it, and I find it to be very beneficial to my productivity. And I actually do use tools like AI tools for generating code. So I'll using ChatGPT for, you saw today in our keynote, we're doing things with AI and LabVIEW. I've used some of those things, and it's really, really interesting to see those evolution in tools to make people even more and more productive. So it's a neat time to be in kind of the double E space. Anyway.
Nice. So outside your work, your field in this case, not work, your field, I mean, outside aerospace and defense, are there specific innovation, technology that you find intriguing, you find impactful? So important from your perspective.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, I do, so I'm a radar signal processing person, so I know processing architectures. I am not a chemical engineer, for example, and I look at the advancement of like battery technology and what that's doing for like electrification out there. I'm not an expert in that space, but I find it very intriguing, very impactful. I want that area of the industry to be successful. I've kind of ventured into the EV space some, but I really am intrigued by that in terms of like energy density and the utility of those things in kind of commercial society to impact climate change and things of this nature. But I'm not an expert in those things, and so it's I'm a hopeful that this technology becomes super mainstream to where it's just as good as a gas engine, I guess. But we're not there today, but I find it really interesting.
Yeah, energy, renewable energies. So all of these are topics very close to my heart,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, and I also see this new trend in EV tolls, the electric vehicle takeoff and landing. One of my colleagues does a lot of work with our customers building EV tolls, and I'm like, I could use a personal helicopter. That would be quite nice because we're supposed to have flying cars by now, I think, right? Anyway, but yeah, that's an area of interest to me.
So, what your advice for young people? So, for someone entering in the aerospace and defense market?
So my advice is it really depends on what they want to do. If you're interested in the leadership aspect of it, there's one answer, in my opinion, and in the engineering aspect engineering school is the easiest entry point. Focus on electromagnetics. Well, I'm the EM guy. I mean, again, there's aerospace engineering. Pick that field you want, and set yourself up for college applications early, and do well. I actually graduated UT with a perfect GPA, top of my class, because I studied hard, and I'm not that smart, but I worked hard, and so I think discipline is the key. And so having the discipline when you're in school. I also will say the military did a lot for me. So getting into aerospace, I build a lot of credibility having Navy service. I only served for 4 years. For some people, military service is not for them. Some people it's a one tour thing. Some people do it as a career. I have many friends who have done it as a career and have done very well for themselves. And so I think military service, either enlisted or officer, is a really good option to kind of break into that, because at 19, 20 years old, I was next to multi-million-dollar jets and billion-dollar sea vehicles, and with all this technology, I would have never been exposed to that technology that early on in my life had I not kind of made that sacrifice. And so, but that's not for everybody. But engineering school was, both of those things were things that impacted my life, and I would say, yeah, look, don't be afraid to look at the military. You don't have to commit forever, and prepare yourself in high school for engineering school, because once you get there, expected to move. It's good stuff though.
So, beyond your job, tell me, which are your hobbies? What Haydn likes to do during the weekend? Which is your plan?
So I work in the high-tech industry. So when I can, I have two children, 10 and 13. So my 13-year-old wants me to play Fortnite with him. So that's somewhat of a silly hobby. I'll play video games with my children.
Fortnite, I know very well.
Oh yes. We're. I won't tell you my online name. It'll be too embarrassing for the viewers. But I actually really like to unplug and get out in nature. I'm big into what they say here. I'm from Texas, so I have a proper large truck with big wheels and storage space for tents. And I like to take my children out to go camping. We'll go and off-road to the top of mountains in Colorado and go cycling. And I'm a very kind of like to. No internet. Get away from technology is great, but sometimes there's appreciation for nature to get away from technology, and so I try to do that as often as I can as kind of one of my hobbies. But it's also fixing up the truck to make it, new features to make it comfortable when we're out there, far away from technology. So, anyway.
Last one. So, in conclusion, let's imagine that you can travel in the space-time. Back, so in the future, or in the past, so Back to the Future, like the movie. What would you do?
You, as a PhD in physics, understanding general relativity and special relativity, know we can really only go in one direction. Backwards has all kinds of problems.
Indeed, this is science fiction.
Science. Oh, this is a James Cameron movie or something. Oh, very good. And I'm like, going. the going backwards, I mean, certainly there's societal things, major wars and tragedies. I would try to go back and, that's the cliche answer. From a humanity standpoint, humans have, like World War II, for example, was a very, very bad period. Finding a way to fix some of those large challenges. But I mean, personally, if I went back for myself and got selfish, when I left MIT, I understood a lot about technology, and I think I could have taken some of that and folded it into some really interesting businesses. So I might advise myself to do a few things different, but that's living life. Going into the future, I would have to take my kids with me. I have kids, so it's like Interstellar. You're not going to leave your children behind. I don't know. I would just be, the thing with humanity is we feel like we have long lives, but in the grand scheme of the time scale of the Earth and the universe, our lives are very short. And so it'd be interesting to see where humanity lands in 500 years, 1,000 years, just from a pure curiosity thing. That's kind of probably the why. So anyway, appreciate the question. That's an interesting one.
Thank you. So we are in conclusion. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for joining us at Wind Down Friday. Enjoy.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I appreciate the conversation, sir.
Enjoy and I connect. See you next.
You too.